Hey everybody, welcome back to Barter Hordes. My name's Robert and I'm here with a Tuesday tag. I've been meaning to do this tag for a little while and I've now been tagged by 3 different people, so it's time. This is the BookTube Watching Tag. It was originally created by Harriet, Rosie, and I will link her channel down below. I didn't find the actual original video, so I just linked to her channel. But then I was tagged by Doris of All D Books. I was tagged by Mel of Mel's Bookland Adventures, and I was tagged by Steve Donoghue, and so I have linked all 3 of their versions of this particular tag down below, so you can check those out as well. Thank you all for tagging me. This is 10 questions plus people that I want to tag, and I'll go through them as quickly as I reasonably can. The first question is, how many channels are you subscribed to? About 2 weeks ago, I went through and culled out some of the channels that are no longer making videos. I don't know why that matters to me because they're not clogging up my subscription feed, but I just felt like getting rid of some of the videos that seems like the booktubers have left BookTube. All in all, I'm probably subscribed to between 95 and 100 videos, and I would say of those, 90 of them are for BookTube. I subscribe to a few news channels, things like Stephen Colbert's monologues, Trevor Noah, things like that. Number 2, when do you normally watch BookTube? I typically listen to podcasts and watch some BookTube videos first thing in the morning while I'm having breakfast and drinking my coffee and kind of making my way slowly into the day. As many of you know, I recently retired from teaching, so I have the luxury of determining what my days are going to look like, and so I tend to start them fairly slowly, but BookTube is one of the things I like to do in the morning, and then I watch again throughout the day when I stop reading or doing something else for meal breaks, and then sometimes in the evening depending on how many videos I have to catch up on. Number 3, how do you balance BookTube watching, reading, and making your own videos? I haven't really put a lot of time into this one. I've kind of fallen into a pattern where I will watch BookTube in the morning, read for a while, and then usually I'll break for lunch, and then if I'm filming that day, I'll film right after lunch, and then I will spend the rest of the day again reading and then watching some more BookTube in the evening. So I haven't had a terrible time doing that, but I have noticed that I'm spending more time watching videos than I used to, and for a week or two it seemed like it was cutting into my reading time. So I've kind of scaled back a little bit. I tend not to watch certain types of videos anymore, and so sometimes I always felt guilty skipping them in my subscription feed, but now I skip over certain types of videos that I know I'm not particularly interested in. Number 4, is there a difference between videos you like watching and videos you like making? I guess on the edges there are probably some differences. I watch videos by people who, like me, do very little editing. I watch videos by people who are very good at editing and make a very clean presentation part of their thing, their channel. I enjoy watching both of those. I don't particularly watch hauls anymore. I do watch Steve Donoghue's mail hauls because that's kind of like a what's coming out soon video to me. But typically watching somebody talk about the 20 books they just bought at the bookstore, none of which they've read and half of which they really don't know that much about, isn't that helpful for me. I found in a lot of cases that they're talking about a book that I've already read and they're trying to preview what it's about, and it's not even close, and so I've just found that kind of a long video that I could probably skip over. I do like watching some reading vlogs, and I've only tried one of those and it didn't work too well because it just went on way too long. I enjoy doing it, and I may try it again sometime once I figured out how I can structure it in a way that doesn't take, you know, a 40-minute video. Number 5, who is the first booktuber you subscribed to, and do you still watch them? I can't tell you exactly who it was that I subscribed to first. I found BookTube not too terribly long ago, probably 6 or 7 months ago, through a tweet. I wasn't on YouTube at all, and then I found somebody's video online, and I started watching some of the other people that were in the recommendation bar on there. And so I initially subscribed to some of the super popular booktubers, and I don't watch any of them anymore. And it's not because I had any problems with them, but I started to realize that most of the really mega subscribed channels were young adult channels and other genres that I just don't read. And so as I started to find my niche on BookTube, I moved away from a lot of those channels and just cut back on the number of channels I wanted to subscribe to. But they were good for me in the sense that they got me to be aware of BookTube, and that I did find the other booktubers that I was really interested in watching. Number 6, who is the most recent booktuber you subscribe to? I think the most recent is probably Candice from Beacon Hill Books. We both found each other's channels through mutual subscribers not too terribly long ago, and I think she may be the last one that I subscribed to. Number 7 is share an old favorite booktuber. Probably the first booktuber I subscribed to that I still watch today is David at ThePoptimist. He made me realize that there was a niche on BookTube for people who read something other than just YA, and he reads so eclectically, and he's such a great editor of videos. He's got those skills that his videos were always a joy to watch, even when he was reading something I'd never heard of or talking about some topic. But I was interested in everything he was doing. We share the commonality of having a child in college, although mine's about to leave college, I hope, and his is just starting. And we do read some of the same books. And so David has always been a stalwart in my particular subscribers list, and he was one of the first people who encouraged me to not worry about it and just give it a go when I started my own channel. Number 8, share a favorite new booktuber. I have several, but one of the ones, and I've mentioned her channel before on a recent tag, one of the ones that I look forward to seeing now is Laura from Paperback Winter. She was shocked when I called her funny, but she cracks me up. She always seems like she's about to make a joke, even when she doesn't, even when she's being serious. But I just find her personality very engaging. She's not at all pretentious. She reads just to see what she thinks of different genres, different books. She is from Britain, so of course I'm charmed by the accent, not the accident. But she's living in Germany now. So when she did her little tour of the Stuttgart Library, I was entranced by that too. So she's one of the channels that I have found not too terribly long ago that I've really looked forward to seeing all of her videos. And I've tagged her in several things, so I've probably mentioned her more than once here. Number 9, what is one of your BookTube pet peeves? I have a couple, but they're not really big deals, and so I don't want to be known for these as my pet peeves. Both of them are concerning language more than BookTube. And that's just a throwback to the days that I spent as an English teacher, and I've been doing it so long that some things have changed in the profession and have changed in the discussion of books. One of the things that hasn't changed, however, is the definition of the word novel. It does not mean anything that's a book, and that kind of drives me nuts, especially when it's people who are fellow teachers who talk about nonfiction novels and memoirs as novels. I used to teach with a colleague who's no longer teaching, she's now an administrator, who used to call every single book she taught a novel, even if it was nonfiction, and that just used to drive me crazy. By definition, the word novel means fiction. And so when you're talking about a memoir, when you're talking about a history, don't call it a novel. I don't hear it that way too often anymore, especially on BookTube. What I do hear is the redundancy of calling something a fiction novel. That's not necessary. It's not a big deal, but I cringe every time I hear it a little bit. All right, enough of that one. The other one I'm going to have to give up on because the language changes. I'm aware of that. I've studied the language for the last 25 years as a student and a teacher. But I get really kind of cringy when I hear people talking about tropes. And the definition they have for tropes is really what they're really talking about are either cliched themes or cliched plot devices, but they've started calling them tropes. And I even hear teachers doing that now. The definition of a trope is figurative language, figurative speech, like a metaphor, metonymy, synecdoche, etc. Now, if you go to the dictionary, you can find the new usage of the word trope in dictionaries, because dictionaries are descriptive rather than prescriptive. And so the use of a cliched theme or a cliched plot device is listed now as a secondary definition of the word trope. And I'm all for the change in the languages, but I'm not for a change in the language that makes the language less precise, which this does. We have perfectly good terms for what they're trying to describe. They're called plot devices. They're called themes. So when you start using a word that means something else to mean what you want it to mean, it muddies the language rather than makes it clearer. But like I said, I'm going to have to give up on this one because it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. I did unsubscribe, however, from one booktuber who described a book as too tropey. That was a step too far for me, and I had to say that's it for me on that particular channel. I know I'm not going to win the battle on that one. That ship has already sailed. All right, enough about the pet peeves. I am a cranky old man most of the time. I don't need to be one on BookTube too. And the last question, number 10, what have you learned from watching other booktubers? Well, the obvious thing is I've learned about a lot of books I wouldn't know about otherwise. And everybody talks about how wonderful the community is. I have nothing to say counter to that. The reason I'm here is for the community. As I've said in several other videos, I joined BookTube community because I'm no longer teaching and I don't have anyone to talk with about books. And I have met some people both online and now, at least in one case, in person, that have really expanded my community of book lovers, and that's been wonderful. But I've also learned about some technical things about, how to film videos, microphones, all those different kinds of things. And at some point, I'm going to hit Steve Donoghue up to learn more about book reviewing from him. I write book reviews on my blog all the time, but they're much more personal reactions to books more than an academic style book review. And I wouldn't mind trying my hand at something like that. I'm trying, as I've mentioned in other videos, I'm trying to write a novel, but it's not going particularly well because I'm just kind of stymied at how to start the actual manuscript. I've been doing a lot of the research. It's a historical novel, not a historical fiction novel, but a historical novel. And I've been doing the research, and there's a great story there to be told, but I'm not sure I'm able to do it as much as I want to, but who knows? But I might try to ask Steve for some guidance in starting to write book reviews a little bit more seriously, and maybe pick up a gig with a local newspaper somewhere and write book reviews there. We'll see. So I've learned a lot on BookTube, and I've only been actively making videos since January 1st, so I'm barely in my 5th month. And then optional, it says tag some of your favorite booktubers. I have been tagging some of the same people over and over again, so to try not to do that continuously, I'm going to tag 3 that I don't believe have done this video and I don't believe I've tagged before. The first one is Beth at Beth Chats Books. The second one is May at mayreads. And the third one is Karen from Runwright Reads. And I've linked all of their channels below in the description box as well for you to check them out. If they're interested in doing this tag, I'd love to see their answers. And anyone else who's interested in doing this, please jump on board. I am not a big fan of the whole idea of tagging individual people, although I see how it's kind of necessary to get people involved. I believe if you like the questions, you should do the tag because it's how we learn about each other in ways that I think are really important. All right, so there you have it. That's the BookTube Watching Tag, and that's my Tag Tuesday. I'll be back again tomorrow with my weekly set of recommendations from independent booksellers around the United States. It's the second batch of 5 books from the May recommendations. And then I'm in the middle of my first set of read-alongs. The first one is The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon. I'm reading that a chapter a day throughout the week. It's a very short book, so it's easy to finish. And I'm also 2/3 of the way finished with my buddy read of The Vegetarian by Hong Kong with Leah of Hide and Seek. And so we'll probably have a video on that together sometime later in the week. So you'll see me a couple more times this week. Hope everyone's having a lovely week. As you can tell, it's gorgeous weather here again. I'm not going to complain. And I'll see you again next time. Bye.